Well, good evening everybody, it's Zero and welcome back to another episode of History Buff Reacts, and today we're taking a look at some weird tech from Simple History. I don't tend to touch on Simple History stuff that much. Even if it's military based, I don't tend to touch it too much. But this caught my eye, because I was not aware anything like this ever existed. A tank silencer. Never heard of a tank silencer. I can imagine it being quite large. I can imagine it not also being very silent. So you have to remember that there's a difference between a suppressor and a silencer. The silencer is basically impossible to hear, whereas a suppressor only constricts the airwaves at long range. So that's a bad explanation, but you know what I mean. You can't hear it from long range. If you stood next to it, you can still hear it. So a silencer, I think they probably mean suppressor, but maybe it's completely silent, I don't know. Let's have a look, shall we?
We were able to bring you this video thanks to Armored Warfare, our free-to-play tank warfare action game in which you take the role of a PMC commander. Choose between hundreds of unique tanks to command, challenge other commanders from all over the world in epic battles, or ally yourselves with other players in an engaging PvE story arc. Sign up with our unique code and receive 7 days of premium time and a free Type 59 2A Premium MBT to kickstart your new career as a tank commander. Check out the link in the description below to get started. Tank Gun Suppressor.
What the hell is that thing?
Located near the town of Meppen in Lower Saxony, Germany, is one of the largest weapon testing sites in Europe, Wehrtechnische Dienststelle 91, or the WTD 91.
Okay.
Its total area is 19,200 hectares, and it's
I thought this was going to be older. Those are like modern tanks. Or modern-ish, anyway. Is this a modern thing? Not exactly history if it's modern, but well, it's modern history, I suppose. Bit confusing, but okay, we'll keep going.
19 miles long and 3 to 4 miles wide. Equipped with high-tech measuring devices, the WTD-91 is the leading testing site of the German Bundeswehr, where extensive testing of tanks and self-propelled howitzers are conducted. The test site may be the pride of the German military, but at times it's been a burden for the citizens of nearby Meppen. The 120mm gun of the Leopard 2 tank produced noise of
Leopard 2 tank, yeah, this is modern day. That's the main battle tank of the German Bundeswehr. Huh. When I thought when they said something like science of weird tech, I was expecting it to be something like a German invention, or maybe an old British invention, or American or Russian. This is modern Germany. Caught me by surprise.
Of almost 80 decibels at a distance of 1 mile, or 1.6 kilometers behind the gun muzzle. For civilians living on the edge of town less than a mile away, it was a huge disturbance. Noise of 80 decibels is equal to the sound produced by heavy traffic or a passing freight train. After prolonged exposure to this noise level, people are more susceptible to permanent hearing loss. Needless to say, the personnel working on the test site suffered even greater stress caused by the gun blasts. At distances of 800 feet or 250 meters, the gun produced a noise of 115 decibels, which is above the average human pain threshold. In order to meet the citizens' demands for a peaceful and quiet life and improve the working conditions of the WTD-91 employees, the German Institute for Noise Protection, in cooperation with renowned arms manufacturer Rheinmetall and MAN, devised an interesting solution: a gun muffler. The muffler was originally designed for the 120mm gun of the Leopard 2 tank. It was intended to be used on shooting ranges with static firing positions. After conducting a thorough study, experts from the Institute found a solution by building a large muffler drum fitted with V-shaped barriers for capturing the propellant gases once the projectile was fired. The muffler drum would trap the gases and release them in 2 smaller blasts, followed by a steady subsonic flow of residue. This procedure worked in preventing a deafening sonic boom, therefore resulting in a significant reduction in noise. With the muffler
Okay.
mounted, the noise produced by a Leopard tank at a distance of 1 mile was reduced from 80 decibels to 60 decibels, the sound level of a normal conversation. Because the construction was too heavy and cumbersome,
I say, it doesn't sound like a lot, 80 to 60, but 60 is a lot more manageable, I suppose. It's basically like it is basically, it doesn't seem like much, but I suppose above a certain threshold, it starts affecting you in different ways. So I suppose that makes sense, actually.
it was impossible to mount the muffler directly to the tank's gun barrel. The only solution was to mount it on a steel carrier structure and use it from a static firing position. After all, the muffler was designed to be used in ranges close to urban areas, not in combat. With the tank gun muffler confirmed as a successful solution, a modified version was made for self-propelled howitzers. The howitzer muffler was made by attaching an extra module to the tank muffler. The upgrade was fitted with side tanks positioned to capture the gases flowing horizontally from the muzzle brake, such as on the M109G 155mm self-propelled howitzer used by the German Bundeswehr.
Sorry, I know this is probably this is correct. Like, this drawing is pretty much spot on what it is. That looks incredible, and I know some of you have probably seen this the same way that I am, and you're probably going to say it in the comments, but that almost looks a little bit phallic. If it works, fair enough. If that's how it's supposed to work, I mean, with the muzzle brakes on the side, that makes sense. You know, the gases expel sideways. Like the original German tanks, you know, from World War II, had side-loaded muzzle brakes because that's how they designed it. Yeah, if it works, it works. It just looks a bit strange like that. Just pointing up like that looks a little weird. It's interesting how they do it though. They capture the exhaust gases, but it's the expansion of the gases that causes the boom in the first place. So yeah, science is pretty much spot on. I like it.
The howitzer muffler was mounted on an adapted steel carrier structure at a 30-degree elevation. The German gun muffler
Hold on, there's gaps in the side of it.
steel carrier structure at a 30-degree elevation.
There's gaps in the side of that. The original one didn't. Obviously that's due to the side mounts, but I thought they were covered. Because it looks from the back, it looks like it's covered. But obviously there it's not. Unless it's meant to be. And it's doing that as a cross-section. Works, it works.
The German gun muffler was not the first such design. In the late 1960s, the United States Army went through a series of tests with what was called an experimental silencer for the 105mm gun of the M60 tank. The silencer was a large steel tube mounted on a wheel carriage. It was 40 feet or 12 meters long and 5 feet or 1.5 meters in diameter. Instead of baffled chambers, it contained plastic bags filled with water to capture the propellant gases. Another design appeared in the 1980s, made by the engineers of the Construction Engineering Research Laboratory of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The patent, designated as a muzzle blast reducing device, was a hollow container filled with liquid foam that could be attached to a gun muzzle. Neither of these designs ever materialized or were put into service. The German gun muffler therefore remains the only one of its kind. Despite its quite odd appearance, it serves the purpose of reducing the blast noise of large guns.
Okay. That is, I think it's fair to say that's not how I expected that to go. I generally thought this was going to be an older invention. I didn't expect it to be a modern invention, like a modern used invention. The science behind it is great, you know, the whole capturing of the exhaust gases, because as I said before, the exhaust gases, you know, out the front mainly, but also the muzzle brake of the German designs, it also fires out sideways. So I suppose that explains the howitzer one. I wouldn't imagine there would have been gaps in it, but apparently there were. But like I say, I think that was just the cross section. I think those things would have been on normally. Very, very interesting. Definitely not what I expected. That's for damn sure.